Welcome to episode 5 of Smartland's Get to Know podcast. Today, I'm joined by Paul Fuller, property manager at Smartland.
Hey, how are you?
Thanks for joining us today, Paul.
Jack, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Man, how long have you been here?
Well, let's see, about a year and a half now.
Okay. And being at Smartland over that year and a half, what does your day-to-day look like?
Well, that changes day to day. That's for sure. It could go anywhere. You got to be able to roll with the tangents and the pivots quickly in my position, because you have a day set where you want to get a lot accomplished and then pivot with different things that go on. I do single family homes for property management, so a lot could happen and change your day-to-day basis. But I do a lot of customer service, obviously, collections and getting tenants to pay bills. I do a lot of court, move-out inspections, just touching base with people, making sure things are going well, corresponding with maintenance to make sure that work orders are getting fulfilled, corresponding with leasing to make sure that, renewals are getting signed. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on day to day. Just it changes every day, and that's what I like about it. I do not do mundane, and I do not like routines that are the same every day. That would drive me insane. I need a little spice. I need a little flair. I got to be out there in the field doing something fun, and I tell you what, it's a lot of fun to knock on doors and get them to pay rent, or go out there and just talk to people. We had some tenant appreciations and had a barbecue, stuff like that. Just got to meet tenants and stuff. That was all fantastic as well. So a lot of things that we do there.
Would you say as a property manager, you're kind of just the switchboard of information among all of our third-party contractors or companies at Smartland that have to deal with working on the properties? Or
that would be a very good definition. Absolutely.
How'd you get into property management?
Well, I literally just applied to work here in collections, and then the opportunity arose to move up the ladder and take on a management position. So I went ahead and jumped at that opportunity for sure.
So walk me through your professional journey. What led you to Smartland Property Management?
Well, Jack, I'm a jack of all trades, Jack. I like to do a little bit of everything. So I do a little bit of everything. I get bored easily. It's kind of one of my things. So I move around a lot. Luckily here, as mentioned before, I don't get bored because every day is a new adventure. What I can tell you is I graduated from West Geauga High School and then went on to Ohio University College. Graduated from there with degrees in communication systems management and business management with area of concentration in marketing. First job out of college was at MB&A America Bank. I'm a night owl. I do not like mornings. Mornings and I don't work very well, so that was 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. job, and basically just did West Coast sales at MB&A America Bank. From there, I got bored of doing that and tried to transfer from what I could say is the MB&A America Bank was fantastic. The Lerners owned it, who owned the Browns back in the day. I know you're a Steelers fan, but still, we both appreciate the sports. So my friend,
of course,
the Lerners were fantastic people. Al Lerner was a great guy. Fantastic.
Did you met him personally or interacted with him?
Oh, yes, and he lived right down the street from me. He would come into the office even though, he's big Al Lerner and owns the Cleveland Browns. He would come into the office there in Little Beechwood, Ohio, and pop by and say what's up from time to time at big corporate meetings and things like that. Great guy, very, very family-friendly oriented. When Bank of America came in and bought them out, then it became a big corporate conglomerate. Not really my style. Mm-hmm. I am more of a Al Lerner, kind of a Browns guy, as opposed to you will follow every rule by this and T. So that didn't work for me. We bounced out. We went on to the mortgage industry. Was a mortgage loan officer for quite a while. It was great, very successful. I foresaw the crash coming. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Big Short.
That's one of my top 5 favorite movies.
Really?
Yeah, I love it.
So I was that guy closing loans on the beach with a laptop and a cell phone back in 2005 in Florida after a big February and March. Went and took a little spring break for 3 weeks in Florida down there, rocking the laptop and the phone, just closing loans, man, getting clear to closes. Just like the movie, but unlike the movie, I saw the crash coming. Like I think the main character, was it Bale or someone saw saw it coming as well, and he dipped out before anybody else did. I pretty much did the same thing, and it was just like, the subprime lending's gonna take a major hit here. We got to get out. So I then went and became a manager of a restaurant. It's kind of a fun little restaurant. It's called the Boneyard, and they had live music every weekend. They had video games everywhere. There was fun for family, and then after hours, it was just bands and bars and stuff like that. So did a little bit of everything there, from managing to bouncing and stuff like that, booking bands.
Booking bands?
Yeah, booking bands, which then, eventually I ended up, we can just fast forward because I took several jobs on. So we can fast forward.
Post the market crash.
Post the market crash, I ended up going to Charter One Bank. But then the most fun job, I went to Progressive. I worked at Progressive for years selling insurance. Basically, I'll go sell anything, I'll market anything. But speaking of what we kind of just were mentioning there, with the booking bands, was one of my favorite jobs was working for the radio stations here in Cleveland. So I worked for the radio stations here in Cleveland, and also got to do a lot. I didn't really get to book the bands there like I did at the old restaurant.
Man, so you're a property manager here, and you say you're pulled in every different direction on a daily basis. No day's ever the same. So walk me through, as a property manager, what would be the perfect day?
The perfect day would be my top 5 priorities actually getting to be accomplished in the correct order, or at any point in time during the day, without a bunch of pivots. But that's an unrealistic thing, because in our industry, pivots are going to happen, and priority 1A becomes priority 3 real quick as other things become more important. So, in a perfect day would be no perfect storms. And that's a tough thing to ask for in any business, especially when you manage and we own as many single-family homes as we do, So there's bound to be something to go a little awry at any time at any one of those places. So
right.
I guess a perfect day would be none of those things to happen and just be able to plow through and make my calls and get through my emails without having to go off onto a bunch of pivots. And
being the switchboard for all these properties, do most of your communication, does that come from tenants? Does that come from maintenance? Who are you spending the most time reaching out to and talking to day to day?
That I'm going to have to delineate that percentage wise. It's a good melting pot there. It's a mixture. I'd say primarily tenants.
Okay.
I would say at least 60% is tenants. Jerome is awesome, and he handles a lot of our maintenance issues and handles a lot of those emails. So I would say minimal maintenance issues I have to handle, unless it's reaching out on behalf of maintenance to schedule something with the tenant for maintenance. So that's great.
Now, man, with being pulled in all these different directions, you have to be able to find some way to achieve some sort of work-life balance that works for you. Tell me how you do that.
Well, I think the cup speaks for itself.
Coach Paul?
Coach Paul, I guess that'd be your answer right there. Everyone knows it that works here. Everybody that knows me. Youth sports is my jam. My younger son is pretty good. I'm not going to say he's great by any means, but he's pretty good. He's 10 years old.
Got to keep him humble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's 10 years old. He does play 12U, and he's in 5th grade, and he plays on the 6th grade basketball and football team. So he's very good. But everyone could use some improvement, of course.
So
which is why I coach.
As Coach Paul, what teams are you coaching throughout the year? Is it cyclical? Do you pick and choose? Tell me how much.
I coach everything. I will always be a part of everything until I'm no longer able to be a part of everything. And that happens when, obviously, the transition occurs to a middle school or a high school sport. So,
will you still try to pursue that, or is there too much politicking involved once you get to that?
Politicking, you have to be a school teacher in order to be on the staff, or you have to be really, really, really close with a school teacher or principal, and then allow you to kind of sign on as like a special advisor.
Right.
But for now, I do coach. Well, we just finished basketball. Obviously, the week basketball finished the same week flag football started. That was about a month ago. Last weekend was the baseball combine and draft, so I spent 6 hours assessing the new up-and-coming players into the rec league and then drafting the players onto my team. And then right after that ends, we go into tackle football. Tackle football rolls right into basketball. So the only non-overlap is I get 1 week in if there's not rainouts. Basically what it comes down to is you get one shot in life to do something like this with your kids. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that's ever going to be more important to me than that, ever. Money will come and go. Jobs will come and go. People will come and go. Your family will never come and go. Your family is your family, especially your own kids. And if your own kids are passionate about something, I hope that every parent would be just as passionate about it and help those kids achieve what they want to.
Is there a sport that you enjoy coaching more than the other?
I would say that I like coaching basketball the least.
Okay. Why is that?
I don't know if it's probably because we're given 1 hour a week and we only play rec ball. And like I just told you, I'm used to coaching 15, 20 hours a week and then playing games. I can't teach my kids what they need to know in an hour a week and expect them to really get to where they're going. So we would go to, I'd take my kids to open gym and stuff and try and get extra practice.
It's harder to develop talent in that sport, you think, at least at this level. Yeah,
it's they're so good, but there's just not enough time. There's not enough time for the kids to practice, and then the league isn't run very well because it's rec league, but it's not the best rec league. Mm-hmm. The guy was there for 18 years and had that thing down pat, and then he left, and now the last 2 years have just been these people trying to figure out what he did successfully.
He didn't leave a handbook?
Just follow the handbook, dude.
Right, yeah, that's what I was about to say.
The guy did it successfully for 18 years. Just do what he did. But no, that's not what they've been doing, and I've essentially had to been running the league for the last 2 years, and it's been very stressful and annoying for me.
Now, have you found, as a coach, success in one sport compared to another?
Oh, all of them. We're in the championship game, and all of them, my friend.
Okay, what brag about your championships? What's your resume look like?
Well, baseball, I want to say we've taken home first place in rec league. Austin started playing at 5. I want to say 3 first places and 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. Would it sound about right? 5 years, maybe 6 years, roughly. Basketball. Again, brutal for me. Brutal. Make the championship game every year. Last year we went undefeated, lost in the title game because we had to play the same team for the 3rd time. You know the rule of 3, Jack.
Beat them the first 2 times, can't beat them the 3rd.
That's always the rule because they know your plays. So if the Browns played the Steelers 3 times and the Steelers beat us the first 2 times and they made up in the wild card division, guess what? The Browns are winning game 3, and you bet the house on that, and you know that. So the team faced us 3 times. They knew my plays by then. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, at that time, it was 3rd, 4th grade basketball. So imagine how many plays I could run with 3rd and 4th graders. They picked up on the 3 by game 3. So we ended up losing in the title game by 4 points. That was a hard one. So I was out for redemption this year on a 5th, 6th grade team. Predominantly with 6th graders, like I said. And we went 11-1, beating almost every team by 30, 40 points, except for one. They beat us in week 2 by 2 points. And we were hosed by a ref in the finals, and we'll leave it at that. We didn't really get a fair shake at our opportunity at redemption and taking home the title, so that's another 2nd place. However, tackle football, we did the unthinkable this past season. We went undefeated tackle football season. There's like 35, 40 teams in the division. Mayfield has 2. Willoughby's got several. Mentor's got 5. Chardon's got 4. Eastlake. Every team's got every city's got several teams in this thing. It's huge.
So is it a full Northeast Ohio league, or
pretty much?
Yeah. Now, as Coach Paul, what if you're assessing yourself? What would you say is your best skill as a coach?
Motivation.
Motivation. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Why is that so important?
Man, you gotta get in the zone. You gotta lock in, man. You gotta get that killer instinct out. You gotta want the ball. You gotta be ready to roll. I'm the guy that's gonna get you pumped up because things are gonna happen during the game. I got a lot of guys, something happens to them. These 4th, 5th, 6th graders, and have been for years. I'm just going on through the years.
Man, Paul, the property manager, Coach Paul. It doesn't seem like you have a lot of free time outside of that, but if you do, when you do. What is that dedicated to?
Fantasy football.
Fantasy football. Okay. So, in theme with sports,
fantasy football or anything sports. Sure, can we say it? Yeah, it's legal. Gambling.
Yeah.
Betting.
Sports betting.
Why not? So, yeah, no, I am a rabbit hole of diving deep and analytically studying all facets of every single intricacy in every game. Sometimes that is my downfall as I overanalyze instead of just going with the gut. But it also works out, as you know, to my benefit quite frequently when I hit the right information. So,
yeah, when did your love for fantasy football blossom?
Well, when it started existing. We're about to start March Madness brackets right now, and I could not be any more excited now. I really don't even watch college basketball until the tournament starts. Don't know the players, don't know anything about them. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna dive in now, do some research. I'll do one off the fly, and then I'll do a couple off research, and we'll see if we can hit something. But at the same time, fantasy football started back in, I think, roughly for me in like 2001, and we literally had to get the newspaper clippings the next day and take the stats and determine pen and paper by hand who won. The internet wasn't really around, nor did these sites exist today to help you with all this fantastic stuff.
So it was a pen and paper method?
Pen and paper method, and then you'd have to, honor system, and hey, here's the points. You won 108.3 to 106.2, and here's the stats from the newspaper. Same thing with March Madness, dude. Like, we literally, I was talking to my buddy today about March Madness. I'm like, dude, remember back in 7th, 8th grade when you and I would have to sit there and go through everybody's newspaper clippings from the Plain Dealer, the front page on Monday's Plain Dealer every single year after Sunday selection show was the bracket. And everybody just cut out page 1 of the Plain Dealer, and then they filled out their bracket that way, and they'd hand it to me or my buddy, and then we'd run the pool that way. Yeah. So it started young, even before it was legal. We're not really supposed to be gambling in 7th, 8th grade, I guess, and running March Madness pools, but everybody knows
it's all in good fun.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah.
Sure. There was no money involved back then. No, definitely not. But yeah, it started, I guess. I was a kid that, for some reason, baseball cards were my passion as a young kid, and sports collectibles. I went as far as to memorize the statistics off of every card and then have my parents quiz me on them. What did Bo Jackson bat in 1987? How many home runs and RBIs and stolen bases did he have?
Can you still answer that?
No.
No.
No. That goes away with time, my friend. But I tell you what, that's kind of where it all started then. Dude, I was the ball boy. I don't even know if you know this. I was the ball boy, not the ball boy, the T-boy for the Cleveland Browns when I was 8 years old. My grandmother, God rest her soul, signed me up for a contest at Sherwin-Williams to be the ball/T-boy for the Cleveland Browns in 1987-88 season, dude. 1987-88, that's prime there. We're talking Bernie Kosar, we're talking Slaughter, Langhorne, we're talking Newsom, we're talking, everybody. We're in Minifield, Dixon. We're in it every year playing the Broncos, as you know. And Elway's doing what Elway does to us with either the fumble or the drive. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
But your boy over here was the T-boy. So my little 8-year-old got to run out on the field when the Brownies would kick off, grab the tee, then run back to the sideline before the beast came down and hit little 8-year-old me, and then watch the games from the sidelines with my dad. So that was awesome, man.
That was probably unforgettable.
Well, obviously, man. I grew up next to, Bernie Kosar, talking with him and Newsom every day at 8 years old. My dad was also a personal trainer, God rest his soul, and in doing so, he made good friends with the head baseball trainer in the 80s and 90s of the Minnesota Twins. So anytime the Minnesota Twins came into town, they instantly would call my father to go fishing. We would all go fishing on one of their off days or after a day game. Those boys like to get after it for sure after a day of fishing and fun for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm 8, from the time I grew up, I was in the Minnesota Twins dugout and locker room before games, in the locker room, eating food with them and hanging out before the games, going into the locker room after the games, taking them out fishing afterwards, staying out with them until 1 a.m. while they are ripping chandeliers and stuff down at places and having themselves a good old 80s, good old baseball fun. And then as players get traded around the league, then all of a sudden you've got connections on every team. So now you start with the connection on the Minnesota Twins, man. Everything's networking in life, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
You start with a connection on the Twins. Great. A player from the Twins gets traded to the Angels. Now we know everyone on the Angels. Angels players get traded to the Tigers. Now we know everyone on the Tigers, and so on and so forth. Throughout the whole American League, pretty much, because they come to Cleveland. They gave us a call. So basically, you name it, I've got every sports collectible autograph. I know every player from growing up in the dugouts and locker rooms with all of them and watching the games from the sidelines from being the Browns T-boy. So, I mean, it doesn't get any more diehard than that. I mean, we got tattoos everywhere for Cleveland sports, so we're not going to show them, obviously, in this meeting, but...
Maybe next episode, I'm sure we'll have another one. We can do who Cleveland sports tattoos or...
Maybe. Well, I'd be more than happy to show it anytime.
Man, tell me about as a kid, who was your favorite professional athlete that you were around through all those stories?
Good one. I really never thought too much about it because it varies by sport. Big influences for me, I'd say for the Browns, Ozzie Newsome.
Okay.
Was actually my favorite. The Wizard of Oz took the time, man. He took the time to talk to you personally as a little kid, as a human being, an 8-year-old. I'll tell you who I hated. Dave Modell. You know Art Modell, you know what he did. Art Modell owned the Browns. Art Modell sold the Browns in the middle of the night to Baltimore, which is no longer allowed, as you know as well. So Dave Modell came up to me at 8 years old, Art's brother. We already know how much we all hate Art.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Steeler fan, so.
Either way, you can still appreciate the hate.
We know
for
how
Art.
much this city hates them.
As a Steelers fan, you and the Buffalo Bills were the only two teams that voted for it not to happen. So props to you, actually, because you respected the fact that we were the Cleveland Browns.
We're an organization of integrity.
And you respected the rivalry and that it needed to stay that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Wizard of Oz ended up going to Baltimore. Man, that's a story for another day as well. But Dave Modell at 8 years old, first time meeting the guy, first game of the year. Oh, you're the new T-boy, huh? Sure am. I'm Dave Modell. Nice to meet you, Dave. What do you want to be when you grow up? Football player. Oh, you're much too small. I won't tell you what I said to him, but my dad was all about it. It's not PC. And even at age 8, I did have a mouth. I definitely told the guy what he needed to hear.
Did he fire you?
No. He had no authority to fire me. I won a contest through Sherwin-Williams, and he was the brother of the owner standing on the sidelines. It's basically like Patrick Mahomes' brother. You're nothing.
Yeah.
You're that guy that's trying to ride off someone else's coattails to begin with. And you're telling me at age 8 that I'm too small to play football professionally? How do you know what I'm going to blossom into, dude? I'm 8 years old, bro. So I pretty much told him to go pound it in more specifically derogatory terms. But Ozzie was great. So when Baltimore happened and he had to go be the GM of them and then draft Ray Lewis and Ogden and Ed Reed. And, oh, by the way, when we had that happen, Bill Belichick was our coach with Nick Saban and everybody else on the staff. Not sure if you know who those guys are. Yeah. So literally our team would have been Ozzie Newsome in the front office drafting Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Jonathan Ogden with Bill Belichick as the coach if it were not for what happened. So I'll try not to go down the what ifs.
Yeah, a lot of legends that could have passed through Cleveland.
Yeah, a lot of different stories could have happened. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick wouldn't have happened. It would have been the Brownies with Ray Lewis and all those bad boys. But I digressed, and I apologize for the tangent, but hey.
No, I love it.
Appreciate it.
Man.
Baseball. Brooke Jacoby. Best. Brooke Jacoby is a dog. Joe Carter. Amazing. Love those guys. Love those guys. Brooke Jacoby, I'm literally in Arizona spring training, like 6 years old. Everybody's outside signing autographs. Brooke Jacoby spent like 2 hours after a spring training game in like 120-degree dry heat in Arizona signing autographs, man, with everybody else. And then I missed him. You know, the guy played third base. I was a big fan of the guy. I liked the guy. I missed him. I'm also not the kind of guy that is hesitant or takes no for an answer, really, in general, and never was then either. So I saw him booking it to his car, so I started running after him. Mr. Jacoby, Mr. Jacoby, Mr. Jacoby. I'm sorry, would you mind signing my ball? The guy was already in his car, backing out, pulled back into the parking spot, got out of his car, signed the ball and his card for me, took a picture with me, and he could have just drove away and ignored me altogether. That made Brooke Jacoby my guy. We owned several car dealerships growing up. My grandfather owned them, and my father ran them as the general manager. So promotions were big. We had partnerships with the Cleveland Browns, the Indians, and the Cavs.
Man, we could do this for
I'm sure
hours
we could.
and hours on end.
I'm sure we could, buddy.
Man, we'll save it for another episode. We'll save the rest of your stories for another episode or maybe a series. But one final question. It is March. It is March Madness times. Brackets came out on Sunday.
Yeah.
Who's winning it all?
Well, everyone's going to tell you that UConn's going to win it. I mean, that's obviously the consensus pick. Odds-on favorite. They're not the number one seed this year as the overall number one seed, but they got a tough draw. They didn't get the toughest draw in the tournament. They definitely got a tough draw. Now, they won it last year as a 4 seed, and they played a 5 seed. So everyone likes to go chalk in these tournaments and take 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, you know, to win the whole. Nobody actually takes 3 or 4s. You know, everybody usually goes to the 1 through 3 seed. But last year, UConn played San Diego State with a 4-5, and you had the Peacocks made the Elite Eight, was it? Like some no-name school, St. Peter's Peacocks made the Elite Eight that nobody ever heard of, and then you remember the Florida Atlantic. So who's going to win it? Someone you probably never heard of is the answer, and that's why that's what makes it the madness, baby. I root for every underdog. I root for every upset possible. I don't really care who wins it. I'm rooting for the underdogs. Now, do I have money on UConn to win it? I absolutely do. Do I? Yeah. So I'm rooting for UConn to win it because they're the consensus favorite. But if they don't, I don't think it'll be a big name. I don't think it'll be a Purdue or a Kentucky or North Carolina. I think it would be an off-the-wall team.
Okay.
Now, we'll see.
Is there any off-the-wall team that catches your eye this year?
You're trying to copy my brackets before you handed yours in, Jack, and there's money on the line here, my friend, so I'm not going to give you away insider information, buddy.
Smartland. All right, you heard it here first.
And last.
Smartland's official pick. UConn.
But I'm a North Carolina boy by heart and I'm going with the Tar Heels by heart. Also a tough draw. Arizona always chokes in the tournament, though, dude.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with them.
Yeah, so everyone's saying Arizona's going to come out of that region. North Carolina got the 1 seed for a reason. They beat Duke and everybody else. They won the ACC. They didn't win the tournament title. But I have been a hater of Duke and a lover of the Tar Heels from day one. You can only like one or the other, obviously. So my heart is going to say, go Tar Heels always.
Awesome.
But my brain is going to say UConn wins it all, or someone that never you would expect.
Yeah.
I don't see Purdue and Edie getting it done. I don't see Houston's going to get bounced real early as a 1 seed. That I can pretty much guarantee you. Write that one down. Houston will be the first 1 seed out.
Okay.
Book that.
Bold prediction.
Book that.
Paul, thank you for your time today.
All right,
we'll definitely be doing this again.
Oh, well, I can't wait for it.
Awesome. Thank you for tuning in to Smartland's Get to Know podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date to all things Smartland.